Oh, I'm not either, so don't worry.
Being recorded.
That's when everybody goes silent. So lovely to see you all this morning. Welcome to the December meeting of the Plymouth Food Aid Network. We've got a very relaxed agenda today. We have a guest speaker who is Maureen from the DWP. She is the Armed Forces Champion for Devon and Cornwall, and she's going to be telling us a little bit about her role and what she does and what she can offer some of your clients and customers. Ian is going to give a bit of an update on the Community Dragons event, which was absolutely fantastic, and hopefully V's going to chip in on that because she stood up on stage and was absolutely brilliant, so that was really, really good. And then for the rest of the time, really, it's just a chance to have a general chat and, you know, see where you are, what you're doing, what help you need, and just to really bounce ideas off each other. So can I start with you, Maureen? Are you happy to just launch you straight into that?
No worries at all, no problem. So I'm DWP Department for Worker Pensions, Armed Forces Champion for Devon and Cornwall. So back in March 2020, DWP launched the new initiative to support veterans in the benefit system, working age benefits that I deal with, in alignment with the Armed Forces Covenant. So I normally assist any veterans family, estranged families, any kind of sort of link to the armed forces community in the benefit system, and I can be the conduit between the veteran and the job centre, or I can be you know, whatever assistance they need to move forward is what I end up doing, really. So there was 3 of us covering the whole of Devon and Cornwall. Then it's been reduced down to me solely. So I will meet the veteran or their family in any job centre in Devon and Cornwall. I'll go wherever they are happy to meet me. I also go to outreach events. So with the Armed Forces community in Plymouth, we've got 3 Armed Forces outreach events at the moment, one in Chadderwood, one in Improving Lives Plymouth, and one in, where's the other one? In Whitley, in the community hub there. We're trying to get another one set up in Plymstock because we understand that Plymstock Armed Forces community are having their community centre withdrawn in the not too distant future. So we need to get out there and try and make sure they have some kind of a support network going forward, or know who to contact. So at these outreach events, it's collaborative amongst all the charities and agencies that support veterans, and we go out to these events once a month, and I can send you the details if you want them, or you might already have them. And it gives anybody opportunity to drop in and talk to whoever they want to talk to. And it's also a good networking event for myself, because then I get to talk to people in the communities and maybe some people I don't know about. So much of my work is a two-way street. So if I know that there's somebody on the ground that does a specific thing for veterans, or even anybody in the general community, I can refer to them, and it's also vice versa. So I get a lot of referrals from people on the ground like you, who have come across people that are in crisis or need some support, or they may have had some benefit issues, and you have a direct link into the job centre by me, so I can ferret around in the background, find out exactly what's going on, and then we can formulate a plan to move forward. It could be anything, really. The job centres also use me because they have veterans that are benefit claimants, and I normally get called in to see clients if they're in crisis, because in general run-of-the-mill DWP business as usual, the job centre is very good at doing their own thing, and they've already got their protocols and the procedures lined up for people that are job ready, but it's normally people that need a little bit of extra help that I get involved with. So it's interesting, it's demanding, but it's good that we can all work together to help people move forward, because somebody may have a benefit issue, and you need somebody that can actually translate what's going on, why things have happened. And maybe just that we're all sat on the sidelines waiting for somebody to make the first move. It could be that a client's been sent some letters and they've not actually had the fortitude or the resilience to engage with the system, you know, and it just could be that we can formulate a plan to help those more vulnerable customers access benefit or get back on track with their benefits. So that's what I do, really. So any questions, queries, or issues?
Thanks, Mo. Do you have any leaflets at all that anybody would be able to have that people could put into, you know, their venues, because they may not have somebody that they'd like to refer to you now, but, you know, or any information that, you know, for handouts that we could send out to the network?
We don't have handouts because we don't know how long our project is going to last. So I've got my email address, Ian's got my email address, you've got my email address, and I'm quite happy for people to have the email address if they have projects or community-based things that they run. And I would prefer if you referred people into me, because I don't want people to have my direct information, because if I'm no longer in that position in 6 months, 12 months time, it's going to be damaging to withdraw that support. And I just need to make sure that they've got a named person to hand over to, because as we can all appreciate, funding is quite tenuous. And if I'm not able to support somebody, that's I don't feel good about that. I need to be able to hand them over to somebody that will help them move forward, or actually put them in a position to be able to help themselves, if you can appreciate that.
Yeah, certainly. No, that's brilliant. We'll put your email into the chat so everybody can see that, and that will be in there as well. And I can also add it onto the when we send out the recording, I'll just pop it onto there so everybody's got it as well. How long have you got the funding for, do you think, that you're going to?
It's reviewed annually. So as you can appreciate, government departments are a bit slow, and we did go through a bit of a tenuous situation around March this year. We were unsure whether we were going to be retained for another year or not, but we are being given another year, so definitely until April, May next year, and then we'll just have to wait and see what happens at those times, really.
Brilliant. I was just thinking, actually, in my role in another organisation that I work with, we work with veterans down at Battling On in Callington. Do you work with them at all?
Yes, I go down to see Sean quite regularly. Yeah.
Oh, brilliant. That's great.
Yeah. Yes, I do a lot of outreach stuff. I go to Battling On. I do go to Improving Lives Plymouth quite regularly. Ian, who's their benefit advisor at Improving Lives Plymouth, I think we've got a constant email trail of queries, and I support him to resolve issues as well. I don't apply for benefits to people because I need to be the definitive DWP person, but I will signpost to people that can help. And if someone has got an issue with their benefit, I can probably find out what that problem is and how we can work towards resolving that. So I won't be filling out anybody's PIP forms. I won't help people to claim universal credit, because CAB have got the contract from DWP to help to claim, and they will be with that person until their first correct benefit payment. So I can't cross the contractual boundaries for that kind of thing. But I can definitely, do some investigation in the background, because it might be that somebody's ESA has stopped or their PIP's been suspended, and I can find out exactly what's going on and how best to move forward. I mean, like I said, it could be just the fact that they haven't been able to open their mail. It might be that we're all waiting for somebody to make the first move. We could be waiting for a fit note. A decision might have been made on the work capability assessment and they've not been updated. So all those kind of things would be helpful. Or if somebody's moved house and not told us and they haven't received their post, then all little things which can sometimes escalate into huge things can be resolved quite quickly.
That's really helpful. Has anyone else got any questions for Mo at all?
Would it be okay to share your email with the community builders so that they are able
Absolutely,
to?
yes. I spoke to a few of them in Whitley a couple of weeks ago, and I can't remember the gentleman's name that runs the Whitley Community Centre, but he's got my email address. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
That's brilliant. Thank you so much. Ian, can we come to you about community of dragons?
Yeah, that would be fine. So we had our first, we being Food Plymouth, had our first Food Plymouth Community of Dragons event towards the end of November, and it was on a Friday evening at what was the Climate Hub, the old Waterstones building, just before it moved on. So basically, this is drawing learning from the Reconomy Centre in Totnes and the work that they've done for many years with the Local Entrepreneurs Forum. And they've done 10 years of those over a 12-year period, having been interrupted for 2 years with COVID. So it's drawing on that inspiration, really, which is really a good way to go. The idea is that with Community of Dragons, it's not like it's kind of loosely based on Dragon's Den, but is much more friendly and less adversarial, much less win-lose than that. So basically what you have is a number of organizations and businesses presenting their business and their business needs and their development needs to a reasonably friendly bunch of people that have either got money, skills, talents, contacts, anything that could be helpful to them, to those businesses, and it works on a sort of pledge system. This time around we had probably about 20 something people of dragons, I would have thought, with 3 causes, 3 businesses presenting, one of which was V, and your colleague, is it your colleague Paul? I got his name right? Yeah. Presenting on lead works in all its fullness. And we had a young man called Adrian who does these amazing microgreens for salads and things like that. And we also had Hedgerow Hound as well, who do the amazing vegan cookery piece over in Devonport Guildhall, and they serve the market hall as well. So if you've eaten at the market hall, you've probably had Hedgerow Hound food. So yeah, it was just a tremendous event, really, and a lot of pledges given. V's followed up on the pledge I gave her this morning. Thank you, V. It's really a sort of development piece, isn't it, really, with you and Leadworks, the way you've expanded so quickly. So would you like to talk a bit about your experience of it with Paul and how you found it?
Yeah, so I guess I think we probably thought it was going to be meaner and horrible and standing up on a stage in front of people, and actually it was lovely and supportive, and we just laid out what we were looking for and things that we needed help with, and yeah, we got lots of pledges on our everybody wrote down you can tell some today jobs, wrote down pledges of things that they could help with or people they could connect us with, offers of volunteering, mentoring, speak to this builder, or how about doing this, and yeah, it's not necessarily, we don't necessarily want the cash in hand. It's actually getting all these these people that you wouldn't have, we just wouldn't have found them without going to that event. So yeah, it was, obviously we were super nervous and don't like talking and sort of scurry around doing our thing down at Leadworks, but actually it was a really good event, and I hope it obviously grows and you get more people on board and stuff.
Brilliant. No, I'm glad it was, and you came over ever so well as well. It was really interesting. 3 very different sort of community businesses there, which was nice to have that breadth, and it's great. What I would love to do, V, is to follow up on what I said on the evening, as well as I'll have a 1-to-1 follow up with, well, 1 to 2 with you and Paul, but we'll see if you're up for it to try and do all of those 3 businesses and a few of the rest of us supporters, maybe meeting down at your place if you're up for that in January, because there was a kind of mutual support, and actually you all had similar needs. They were expressed in different ways, but there was sort of development and consolidation and then expanding in the right sort of ways into the right sort of things, and everything that went with that, wasn't it? It's because it's quite a piece. I mean, Karen would know all about that with the amazing stuff down at the Village Hub, where you've come from not exactly nowhere, but as a bunch of individuals all doing good stuff to band together to now have the Village Hub. Do you want to say a bit about your journey on that, Karen? Because it is an amazing story. I don't know if it's fair to ask you to do that in 2 or 3 minutes, but
I can do the speed version. I think probably a few of you know anyway, but we set up for mutual aid. So we were just a bunch of volunteers doing mutual aid in Stoke and Morristown, found an empty property that had been empty for over 5 years. Negotiated with the landlord, we'd have it rent free because it had no electric, it had no ceiling, it had no toilet, no fridge, all that. So it was knackered really. And then because we were sitting there in that space, we got an Awards for All grant for 10 grand. So that helped us sit in the space. It helped us get things like Wi-Fi and electric sorted. And then kind of gradually, because the space is right on the high street, we had volunteers coming in and just people coming in saying they would like to help. And so we kind of built up a little bit of a community. We chose to be a community benefit society, which has charitable status now because we didn't want to be run by a small group of directors or trustees. We wanted to be accessible and for everybody in the community to feel that they were kind of part of something rather than stuff being done to them. So we try and be very self-managed, and that obviously has its issues because, we try and make decisions together and all that kind of thing. So sometimes we get a bit stuck in discussion and but it's actually, it's a real key value for us, that we would only move at the speed of the community rather than at the speed of a few individuals. So it's quite a key thing for us. And so we have in here, we do run a community larder, but we run that in a way that the food is open to anybody. We have like an honesty shelf out front where people can just pick as they feel. And then we try and bring people in and have decent conversations and just generally see how they would like to get involved as well. So we don't really expect anyone not to be involved. Some people we boss around, some people we're very gentle and hands off, some people kind of come, and depending who the people are, there's all sorts of different ways that works. But yeah, so we kind of work together. We try and do everything together is the main idea. And then we do quite a bunch of arty stuff. We've got a few interested artists, and so we got successful funding to run a project alongside Take Apart. So we had the amazingly incredible Rachel Dobbs for a year. She's just finished. And that was really helpful in helping us work out what kind of events we wanted to run, what kind of crafting. Because again, we didn't want that just to be like things that people attended and didn't really get involved in. It was all ways of getting people more meaningfully connected in the area that they live in. So it's a kind of subterfuge for everybody who is in Stoke and Morristown to look after their area and feel like they're really part of something bigger than just themselves. It's
a lovely mix of things you do there, isn't it? I was talking with Kelly earlier this week really about the diversity really of food provision, both food in many forms, including around food aid and community
so we're
clubs, etc.
Just really quickly on that, obviously Kelly met with Carmen and Jess, and they're really interested. They've already done food cooperatives like in their previous lives, and they're really interested in how that works in a diverse community where some people are really into like healthy organic type food, and other people just want any food. so it's a kind of, so we're trying to figure out how we develop that in terms of having a food cooperative that people can be really part of, and also that it provides a need for the community for those who are on really low incomes, as quite a few people are here, but more of an emphasis on sharing rather. So we would like that word aid to just vanish completely and start to think about sharing much more.
That's nice. That's good thinking.
Could Kelly introduce herself, because not everybody would know who Kelly is, if that's all right, Kelly?
Yeah, of course. So I'm Kelly Fritzsche. I have started, well, this is my 4th week now doing this role. So I am helping to set up food co-ops across Plymouth. So it is a new initiative. I work in partnership with Plymouth City Council and Four Greens Community Trust. And I have been trying to get out and visit as many places as possible: food banks, food ladders, community kitchens, hubbub fridges. I have seen and met a lot of people over the last 4 weeks just to see what we're already doing in Plymouth, what our surplus supply looks like and how we're using it, how we fund what we're currently doing, is it sustainable, and then just explaining to people about what we're looking to do with food co-ops, and that they are a sustainable model. And there's a lot more sustainable models coming along, like food co-ops and also social supermarkets, your local pantry, those types of things. So been having those discussions with everyone really that I've met, and if anyone is interested, please do contact me. I'll come along and have the discussion with you. We've got some different bits to hand out. We are looking at, this is just a period of time where we go and research what's currently out there, what we've got, and see where the interest lies within the city. And then we're looking at next year, really, April, to actually start rolling some out. So me.
That's good. Can you put your contact details in the chat there, Kelly?
Definitely.
And what we haven't explained to you yet is, the recording's been mentioned, but this recording is watched by a lot of people afterwards. The live people online at the moment is, a fraction of actually the people that get to see it. So hopefully you'll get further referrals on from that. So that's interesting. And you're based on the Corporation Towns model, aren't you? Out of London's work with Islington and Camden, effectively.
The Corporation Town model. What's really good about their model is that you can change it to adapt and fit. So when I went to the Village Hub, there was a discussion about sourcing more sustainable food. Would there be, and could there be, a group where we looked at organic, where we looked at, and you can absolutely do that. Each group looks to have around 8 to 14 people in it, and we do then break off groups. So you can make the model however it fits for the members in it. You decide how it works. So that is a really good thing about the model.
And you were saying as well that when as and when that's successful and you get more than that number, it spawns another co-op, doesn't it? You sort of say it divides, like, what's the word, cell division in biology.
Yes,
a bit like that.
8 to 14, and then as that starts to grow, or there's more interest, then you would then break off and you create another group. And that was something we were looking at the Village Hub. Could one group be one that is more focused on organic food, and could another group be the one that's needed for what we need with surplus food? And so we can look at all different ways of setting up the model, for how it works for the community that we're going to do it in. And it is about bringing the people together in the community, and it's not just around food. It is looking at other skills that people can bring. So when you are in the model, you are also volunteering an hour of your time to help split the food, or maybe you're the person that's the treasurer or the co-treasurer. So everyone has a different role, and you're all learning different things and working together and meeting people in your community. So it is about isolation as well.
That's great. I didn't know if that'd be suitable for you, Roger, to have a meeting with Kelly, because I know you've suffered so much with surplus, lack of and shortage of food coming to your organisation, that is that something that you might be interested in exploring? Just it's more of a rhetorical question, so you don't feel free that you don't have to answer it on here.
It could, pardon me, it could well be, but as I've discussed with Ian before, the big problem we've got at the moment is a shrinkage in the supply of donations for food banks. There's an overall shrinkage, and this, I think, is caused by, if you like, the current economic situation, but that's being accompanied by an increase in demand for our services. So the biggest challenge really is finding ways in which to increase the supply of food and to cooperate together to ensure that this goes out to people who supply food banks.
Yeah, this is a conversation. Roger and I had a really good conversation. Was that earlier this week or last week? We had that conversation around that. I've got a meeting coming up with Andrew Shadrake on the other side, because part of the whole suite of measures that we looked at, coming into spring and summer of last year was around obviously the corporation towns piece, which Kelly's really got hold of now, which is looking great the way that's coming on. We were looking at potentially bulk buying of produce, that would be available, and there's a bit more to that and meets the eye. It sounds like a good idea, but actually when you start to look at the logistics, cost, etc. of it, it has its moments, as the ARC discovered. And then also it's this idea of an alliance model that, of going across to more of an alliance of food aid, if you want to call it that, and I don't like the aid word either, around how that might work on that basis, and everything that goes with that. So that's all work in progress. But I'm going to follow up on the conversation Roger and I had with Andrew Shadrake this morning. So we've got an appointment to do that. So.
Yeah, I'm not sure whether participants at this meeting and others are aware, but at the moment, the biggest supplier of food for us comes from Fritzsche, and they themselves are having problems now in, if you like, receiving adequate donations of food to give out to organizations such as Crops at KGP. So it's, if you like, it's a general problem, and it's finding ways in which we can cooperate together. And I think I suggested to Ian that it might well be that instead of setting up a new organization, we try and build on an existing organization like Fritzsche, who already have a warehouse, and they have volunteers that ship out the food and other related items when these arrive. So I don't think we need to reinvent the wheel, which is the point that I was making to Ian. I think, there are existing bodies available that we can build around in a cooperative manner.
Yeah, I think this is, Kelly and I were talking just as the meeting was starting around, Fritzsche's, over demand on at the moment and relative lack of supply. And I think the point is that there is something in the overall food system supply. It's not just about surplus. There are serious issues coming down the pipeline, which have been caused by Brexit and the absence of European labour that's effectively been driven out, which equals a cutback in production in the UK. Then the war in Ukraine. So it's not, how can I put this? It will need economic drivers to fix that, because that is what will fix it. Is if you increase demand enough, someone somewhere will meet it somehow. The sustainability implications of that is another matter, but it is so it is going to be a rough ride the next couple of years, I can tell you that. And you know, that is how it's going to be. So yeah, so it's not a happy picture. But I think Roger's idea there, I thought was excellent, because I know Fair Share are looking to expand. They were looking to expand out the front of their premises in Estover. They're also looking to try and get another unit as well. And I think there's I think we should do everything we can to help them with that. To help that come into place. So yeah. So Roger's ideas play into that, which is good. Thank you.
Well, in the absence of adequate supplies from donations at KGP, we're spending anything up to £200 and £250 a week by buying food from supermarkets. So
yeah. I mean, I think one of the big shortage items is the tomato sauce type things for pastas and curries and things like that, isn't it? You know, the tomato-based sauces and vegetable-based sauces.
And food, basically, that does not have a best before date.
Yeah,
things like cans of vegetables, soups and things like that. Pasta, rice.
Yeah, no, and that's where I'm going to go back to the Brian Honey Morgan type approach that was the Hive Cornwall did during the pandemic around manufacturing products like that, which go into military ration pack type sealed packs, which will store ambient for several months, and you can freeze them, and they'll last much longer if you freeze them as well. So you can have them ambient, you can have them chilled, you can have them frozen, and I think that could be a way around that, because I know Mark at Four Greens is suffering. I don't know if you're seeing that, Eve, but Mark was explaining that struggling with pasta sauces is a thing that he's had to go out and buy, which is a very expensive way of going about it.
The Brian Honey Morgan, that model was fantastic, but it did involve quite a lot. So the idea was, I don't know if any of you are actually aware of it. What it is you would need to actually apply for funding or buy a blast chiller. And what you do is, the concept is that we take surplus food direct from farmers that would normally go to waste, and that is turned into sauces. So you would need to have chefs on board as well, that are designed to make. So, for example, if you had parsnips and cauliflowers, I'm thinking seasonally, that you would make a parsnip and cauliflower based dish sauce that you would then cook in bulk and then freeze in these like special vacuum packs that are blast chilled and blast frozen. So they're literally stacked in a freezer, so you're able to hand them out, and it's all done within the hour, so to speak. So you can actually hand out people meals, but the storage is so much more compact, so you can get more in. But there's an outlay initially for the blast chiller to making sure that you've got the capacity to cook commercial sized, and then of course you've got to have that supply chain that is in ready supply and consistent right the way through. And when they piloted it, it was in a very small area, and it was fantastic. Where was it they did it with the pilot?
It was done by RNS Cold Rose, wasn't it? So Helston, the sort of Roseland Peninsula and everything down there.
Yeah, that's right, which speaks for itself, because it was military precision, and that you've got chefs on board, you've got all those facilities there. So it's looking at how we talked to an organisation down in Cornwall about piloting it, and they loved the concept. However, the time that was required to actually get it off the ground, they just didn't have that, because they didn't have the volunteers, or they didn't have the staff to be able to take it forward. So yeah,
just look
really
at Karen's little figure here.
Yeah, I just saw that.
So there we are. So okay, so yeah, no, that's it's quite a bit too. You're quite right, Karen. It is interesting, but on the same time, it's also a headache. But we bash on. Just championing V's comment. What that this one was, not to waste food. Oh, I see.
Your comment. So the cooperative group was on a call last night about this actually, and they are working with FareShare next year to ensure that they're making a commitment to them to supply them with more food actually, because of the pressure and because of the amount that is not used that should be, and that might be at store level where it's actually not sent back to depot correctly, so they can't reuse it. So that is something that I know that the cooperative group are looking to do, but I don't know about other supermarkets. They were the only one on the call yesterday that have made that commitment to FareShare for next year.
Yeah.
Well, that's
like
good to hear.
we have a pickup from Sainsbury's in town. Now you think the size of that store, and we get offered a loaf of bread, a few apples. There's no way that they don't have any waste. It's I just don't get it. And I think that's there's a whole chunk of food out there. You know, us Four Greens would get not Four Greens, sorry, Green Spaces. You know, you end up going to buy food, and there is so much in the system that is just being wasted that could be utilised. And I think that's the frustrating thing, isn't it? You end up spending money that you could have spent elsewhere when there is plenty in the system at all levels that is just being wasted and not utilised. But that's a bigger picture.
Yes, yeah, it is.
Well, we had this conversation about Asda, didn't we, Vi? So Asda approached us, and they have said that if anybody wants any surplus food from them, so basically bread products, they are welcome to make contact with them and go up and collect it. But you have to collect it on a daily basis, and it has to be at 11 o'clock at night, which doesn't make it easy. So we asked, could they keep it to the morning if we knew that somebody was going to be coming? The answer was no, because they didn't have the. Yeah, I know. But so that's we are fighting away in the background as well, just trying to make things easier, and we're hitting brick walls as well. So it is really, really challenging.
The frustrating thing is, I spoke to, because I've been up to Asda at that sort of 11, 12 o'clock mark, and the staff are wanting it. The staff are like, I had a lady buy me all the bread at midnight to take back to the community fridge, because I explained what I was doing, and all I could see in the store everywhere was food that was going to be chucked in the bin. And so she went and bought all the bread that was left, but she had to pay for it. I mean, it's just ridiculous. But the staff on the ground want it, but management and above are it's too difficult, or time consuming, or costs money, or I don't know.
Yes. Yeah. No. Not.
Yeah, no, it is interesting, this the French model. And I think what's interesting over here now, I was reading something last night, there's around 25 different apps that are around food redistribution now as well, which is really quite a mixed picture across the piece, isn't it? So I'm glad to hear about the cooperative groups, the stores groups support for FareShare on that, because that hasn't, in Plymouth, that hasn't always been the easiest relationship, to be frank, from the early days. So I'm glad that's happening at national level. So that's good. Are we going to have around the groups then, Tammy? Is that the next piece of the plan?
Yeah, that would be great. I do have just one message that's come through from Lindsay down at Soup Run. She apologised for not being able to come, but she said, could we just pass out the message that they have been inundated with Christmas volunteers? They don't need any more. So if you need any volunteers, please contact her at the Soup Run, because she has some that would love to be doing some stuff over Christmas.
Some of them have obviously got their ideas, and we've got people there that are passionate, who may be what we're terming as the community connection.
Oh, sorry, that completely threw me. So if you could drop Lindsay, if anyone needs her, I can put her email address into the, actually, no, I won't. If you just let me know, because it is her personal one, just if you have her email address, do contact her directly. If not, contact me at the Food Aid email address, and then I will pass it on for you. So if that's okay. But yeah, it'd be lovely to go around and just hear from everybody. Just before I'm going to start with you, Eve.
Just before we go into that, there's just one other message as well. Carl Travis from Plymouth Community Homes has just been on the line. He was hoping to join today and he's apologising. He's got wrapped up with he's been delayed by a road traffic accident, so I thought I'd just pass that on to everyone. Yeah, sorry to interrupt. I'll mute myself now. There we go.
No, that's okay. But yeah, so we're going to go around just in a minute, and I'm going to come to you first, Eve. But actually, something that happened yesterday that I ended up getting involved in really brought to mind, brought to the forefront of how important this network and how important everything that you are all doing. So as you know, I'm responsible for the emails that come into the Food Aid, and we don't get many from the public, but when we do, we signpost them. But we had a chap yesterday who requested a telephone call. Nobody normally asks for that. So I managed to speak to him yesterday morning, and he explained that he was struggling with everything, mental health, and he was so hungry, he was struggling to think. And after talking to him for an hour or so, I signposted him to Eve down at Four Greens, where he's received some fantastic support and where he has before. But what came out was such a huge, it wasn't the fact that he was just hungry. There were so many other things that really, that he needed. We talked about why he was hungry, and he said, he gets money and he's so hungry he will just go and buy takeaways, for example, because he just needs to eat there and then, and he doesn't think, and then he realizes by the time he's eaten he's spent his money, and then that's it, he's back in square one. And it just really opened my eyes to what you are all dealing with on a day-to-day basis. And it just, I don't have any more words, but just to say a huge well done to you all, because even though I know it, to actually be speaking to one of your service users in such detail really does open it up. So Eve, I'm going to pass straight over to you if that's okay.
Yes, thank you. What can I say? So here there has been an increase. We do 3 different types of parcels now, and then there's the larder as well. So we have seen an increase steadily, I would say, in all those areas. But I think, as you've just said, Tammy, the greatest thing is not actually about food. It's not about food. There is so much more that people are coming to us for. And a lot of it we are able to assist with, signposts, the same as you're saying, really. But yeah, I think there's always been an awareness here that it's not just about the food. It's never just about the food. But right now, the pressure is on the stuff around the food, not the food itself. There is pressure on food, but the greater pressure is on the stuff around it. And I don't know what you can see behind me, but there's stuff stacked away because we're starting to do the Christmas hampers in connection with lots of you folk. And it doesn't seem to be a priority, not for me. It doesn't seem to be, it's like, oh yeah, hampers are lovely. However, let's do what we've just got to do, what we've got to do. Alongside of that, I have to say that this is the 3rd month in a row that I have seen a real increase in personal donations. People, our local co-op has a little trolley thing for us. And then we've a place downstairs that people can donate. But so direct donations, there's been a huge increase in what individuals have been donating to us, which we're very grateful for. And I try and feed back on my little posters up at the co-op to let people know what it is that they are contributing. I'm looking forward to meeting Kelly next week. I think that's happening, and to see what can happen from here. in partnership with that, really, and what that can bring into the area. I have hope that that's going to make a huge difference, maybe in the longer term.
Thanks, Sue. Yeah, it's very much about community resilience, isn't it? I mean, going back to this chap yesterday, it was signposting him, so he's going along to a wellbeing event that's on next week, where he's going to be able to meet some of the other services that are available to support him. We're going to get him put on some cooking classes as well, because he said he can't cook because he doesn't know how to. It's just, there's so much more, isn't there, that we can offer. V, do you want to comment at all about what's going on in your day-to-day world at the moment?
Yeah, I think it's very similar, to be fair. Yes, people are coming in because they're hungry, but the reality is that it's far deeper than that, and food just becomes the vehicle that you kind of, everything sprouts off of that, doesn't it? Yeah, our numbers are going steadily up and up and up. We do seem to be getting quite a lot of homeless people in at the moment, and obviously we don't pick and choose what people donate, so it's quite difficult to find things that they can, that they can just open. So the cans that have got ring pulls, or pot noodles that they just need some hot water with, and trying to get that fruit and veg in a format that they can eat without having the cooking facility. So that's been quite difficult. But again, like Eve said, we've also had quite a lot of personal donations. So we've had a couple come back for the second year in a row now, and they used to spend £50 on each other at Christmas, and now they spend their £50 each and donate it to us. So they'll bring in a big trolley full of stuff in the next week or so, which is really lovely. And yeah, we've lots of donations, and the whole kind of thing around mutual aid and that sharing in the community. People, I bought a couple of tins in, can I swap it for this? And that's, it's really lovely that people are going, I'm not going to eat that because I don't like it, or I've just got my parcel from the food bank, really don't like tomato soup, I'll take the chicken that's on the shelf. And that's just exactly what the fridge was there for. So yeah, it's really thriving. I just wish it wasn't quite so in demand on that level, I guess, and that people were just doing that because they wanted to, not because they needed to.
Yeah, thanks, Faye. Karen, would you like to have about your day-to-day, your experience at the moment?
So we have a normal steady stream. We have good conversations. I think we're starting to kind of really think about our data now, and starting to think about how we can track people when they come into us and how they move on. So quite a long time we resisted that, but now we're starting to think about, actually, if we want to show that people have benefited from the support, then perhaps it's something that we need to do. And I suppose we're having conversations within the community about that, about the ethics of that, and the capturing that, and then thinking about how the whole community starts to ask these questions a bit more deeply. We're thinking about a little bit of research work. So I think I was with Eve and Ian and Kelly yesterday, thinking about the food research and how to involve people who use the food in that to find out stories themselves much more deeply about what's actually going on, rather than the assumptions I think sometimes where it's very easy to make, or the stories that people feel they have to say when they come in, because I still feel that people feel like they have to say, they have to, like, before they're even in the door, they have to do this kind of like huge story to justify using the larder. And so we're trying to just say, you just use it anyway, it doesn't matter. And then it's like, if they don't have to tell that story, is there another story that's going on, which is perhaps more like more interesting, you know, because it's actually what we're really interested in, really. Yeah. So, and but yeah, I mean, it seems to have a its own little microeconomy, so it seems to be functioning well. We have a lot of food on today. By next Tuesday we'll have almost no food, but then we'll have, and then it will just start again. So we have like a weekly cycle, and it feels like people are aware of that as well. So if they're super hungry, they come at the beginning of the cycle, and if they're just popping in, it doesn't really matter. Yeah. So and there's always something. We have never ever had to turn somebody away and say, no, sorry, there's nothing here for you. Yeah. There's always been something. So that's great.
That's brilliant. Thanks, Karen. Richard, did you want to say anything at all?
Apologies if I vanished because my internet connection has gone unstable. So as I've had my video off to try and maintain it as much as I can. Similar to story to other people, really. I mean, we're about 20% up on last month, and that's probably 30% up on last year. Signposting, we're getting into in a fairly big way on with a phone system, which is providing, we hope, useful help to people getting the problems behind their need for food. And obviously trust is, we're a crisis food, but we're very much aware that behind that people have issues. So we're trying to tackle that with signposting people to other organizations, sort of locally. We are still finding donations are holding up very well, both personal ones and through our local co-op and supermarkets, the baskets and so on. Yes, you have a slightly random collection which comes in, but it's time if you have enough of them, it evens out. So yeah, we've been heartened by that. We're doing Christmas hampers again. We've managed to get some extra volunteers focusing on that as a demand, which we hope will then keep some of them afterwards for a more general use once they get into the organisation. So I think there's a lot of goodwill. There's a lot of people who are wanting to help their communities, which is encouraging. As other people said, it's a pity we have to be doing it in one way, but there's a positive. You know, it is drawing people together in helping each other. And I noticed, you know, the early discussions, there's a lot of emphasis on mutual support, mutual encouragement. It's that working together. So our space is very limited, but that's probably, but we can't find anywhere bigger yet locally. So we've just taken over a slightly bigger space from our local community organisation. We had half a share of a spare building, and we've now got a whole share, which is making life a little bit easier. But so yeah, the concern, I think, is a scope of what we call growth in scope. We're not just doing crisis food now. We're doing fuel costs. We're doing winter support, warm clothing, and so on. All very useful, but it all takes extra volunteers and extra space. So yeah, it's business as usual, but getting busier, I think, is probably the way I'd summarize it.
Thank you for sharing that. Roger, did you want to add anything to what you've already said?
I think that we don't pretend to give advice to people beyond supplying food. What we do is we have a whole list of people that we can signpost people to. And if you like, food is sometimes a stepping stone into other problems. But it surprises us that the people who deal with homeless families put them into accommodation with no cooking facilities.
Yeah.
And we've heard stories of people having to boil eggs in an electric kettle, and that the only thing that they've got to heat food with is an electric kettle, which, you know, is quite disturbing. Apart from a handful of very generous people who donate handsomely, we do not now get much in the way of small donations from people. And it seems to me that this time last year, we had a whole host of people in pubs, barbers, and other places where people ply their trade collecting food. And there doesn't seem to be much evidence of that this year. And, you know, that is something which, if you like, concerns us. But there are some occasions we basically supply food bags on Mondays and Thursdays. And sometimes on Mondays, we do not have enough really to give meaningful food bags to people because, you know, there's no supply of goods. And this, you know, as I've said to Ian, my main concern is finding better ways to increase the supply of food donations to organizations such as ourselves that provide the food bank service.
Yes.
And the other thing perhaps I could say, it would be useful if Tammy could circulate to us all details of our organizations and contact details. I think it's some time since we had one of those, and it might be that this would enable us to sort of chat to each other and I think build something around what Kelly is doing. You know, it doesn't need to be left to somebody else to do. You know, we can each devote a little bit of our time to helping the common good.
Yeah. Is that the list and the map, Tammy, or does it need more than that?
No, it's the list. It went out about 3 or 4 weeks ago again, but I can email it to you separately, Roger, so you've got a bigger copy.
Yeah,
that's not a problem. Yeah, so thank you.
It's probably through my own incompetence that I've lost your original list.
Not to worry. If I had £1 for every email I dropped, I'd be quite happy. Just a very quick one, just to say that the next meeting we're looking at January the 12th, Thursday, January the 12th at 12 o'clock. No, 10 o'clock.
Right.
Get it
10
right.
o'clock.
Yeah,
Yeah.
usual time, 10 o'clock in the morning. So
Okay.
Thursday, 12th of Jan. I'm hoping we might be able to do that as a blended one using the meeting owl as well. So I'll have a chat to Tammy and Co about that and see if we can do that. So it might be a thing you might be able to come to physically if you can spare time, but if not, you can also come in on Zoom as well. So it's best of all worlds, really. And the guest speaker at that is going to be Rachel Silcock from Plymouth City Council, and Rachel's going to come along. This is in response to an observation from Eve, which was very well made around, and it's come out a lot in this call actually, in different aspects of this call, is the whole cost of living response piece, the food, the energy, the income maximization, and the digital inclusion piece, all playing into each other. And Rachel's going to come and talk about that to help give that perspective for those of you on the front, as many of you are on the front line there on the food side and doing the signposting. Hopefully that will help to knit all that together better as well. So that's it's going to be a good meeting, that one, as this one has been. I hasten to add. Thank you.
Thanks, Ian. That's great. Well, we
Can I
have
just
gone over 11. Oh, yeah, go on then, Roger.
Rather jokingly, can I apologize? I am not dissolving. The sun is just shining in the window and causing me to appear to ascend or melt.
No, that's fine.
Okay, thank you.
Nice problem to
everybody.
have in winter. Yeah.
Time. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thank you.
I'll stop the recording now.
Yeah. Thank you, Tammy, for facilitating. Brilliant.